With the election now just 12 weeks away, people are stressing out about the stress millions of mail-in ballots may have on the system.
So David Winter set out to test one potential breakdown in the system that the U.S. Postal Service is having.
Before your ballot can get scanned in at the Board of Elections, it first has to make it to the Board of Elections. To test the system, we created 100 fake mail-in ballots by using the same size and weight Hamilton County uses for its official ballots. We addressed them to a post office box we rented at the same post office where the Board of Elections has its ballots delivered. We dropped off some at post offices, at street corner collection boxes. We did it on foot, by scooter. We even had people put them in their mailboxes.
Oh, I think it will get there. I think we have a wonderful postal service.
In fact, we covered the county, 100 different locations, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
All right, here we go, into the post office.
We did a Facebook Live for the big reveal.
Okay. Oh, that's quite a bit. That's a pretty good take right there.
Now that we've picked up all the envelopes, it's time to count.
We'll spare you the drama.
95, 96, 97. 97 out of 100 fake ballots made it to the post office. Will more come in the next couple of days? We'll definitely check back. If they don't, 3% is a massive deal. It could be the difference of who becomes president.
We had numbered the envelopes so we knew from where they were mailed. The 3 that have not arrived yet, a collection box in Mount Airy mailed Friday, a collection box downtown dropped off Saturday, and a home in Bond Hill Thursday where we watched Ebony Kemp put the envelope in her mailbox.
Do you trust the mail?
Yes.
You think it'll get there on time?
Yes.
We'll see. We wanted to speak to the Postal Service, but it declined our request for an interview, instead sending a written statement saying the Postal Service has ample capacity to meet projected election and political mail volume. And while Jason Hummer says he believes that, he still plans to vote at his polling place.
Would you trust the mail to get your ballot to where it's supposed to go?
Absolutely.
You just like to vote in person.
Right.
The surest way to make certain your vote is counted. David Winter, Local 12 News.
In Indiana and Kentucky, the deadline to accept mail-in ballots is Election Day. In Ohio, as long as your ballot is postmarked the day before the election, your ballot will still count up to 10 days after Election Day. And we'll let you know if those 3 missing ballots ever make it. Postmaster General Louis DeJoy says the Postal Service is capable and committed to delivering the nation's election mail securely and on time.
DeJoy testified today before a Senate committee answering questions about the U.S. Postal Service's readiness for this November's election.
Local 12's David Winter wanted to test the system himself. So here is a conclusion of our reports on testing the mail for the mail-in ballot system.
We mailed 100 mock ballots to a box we rented at the same post office where the Board of Elections receives ballots. We mailed them from 100 different post offices, mailboxes, and homes across the county.
Oh, that's quite a bit. That's a pretty good take right there.
After 4 days, 97 of 100 had arrived, so we gave it a few more days.
David Winter here at the Norwood Post Office.
We checked back live on Facebook.
Let's see if those 3 ballots have shown up. And 1, 2. We're still missing 1.
We had numbered the envelopes so we knew from where the missing ballot was sent. Bond Hill, where we watched Ebony Kemp put it in her mailbox.
So it's been 2 weeks now since we sent the 100 mock ballots. Has that final unreceived ballot come in? Let's find out. It has not, just junk mail.
Hey, David Winter, remember me?
We went back to Ebony's house.
The one that did not make it was yours.
She was not surprised. She says it's sitting in her kitchen.
The mailman never grabbed it. He just put other mail on top of it.
Right.
Ebony grabbed the ballot with the rest of her mail and never put it back in the box.
I got so much going on right now. My mind is everywhere, honestly, so.
And that might be the biggest breakdown in the system, the human factor. Will people steal ballots from mailboxes if they support opposing candidates? Will ballots never make it to the mailbox?
If you don't mail it, it's definitely not going to make it.
Right. You right about that.
So our test complete. 99 of 99 ballots made it to the post office within a week, and one safely accounted for.
Mystery solved.
David Winter, Local 12 News.
Well, boards of elections say that the surest way for your mail-in ballot to get counted is to use a drop box outside their offices. The next best way is to drop it in a USPS collection box or at the post office itself. Just make sure you check the collection times. The recent federal indictments related to an alleged check fraud scheme involving Fifth Third Bank employees, it's prompting a local nonprofit to rethink $50,000 it lost to scammers just months before.
Local 12 Investigates looks into whether there's any way to help an organization that says it feels victimized from all sides. Here's David Winter.
We want our money back.
Debbie Lewis is staring down the financial equivalent of a 7-10 split.
I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. That's all I kept thinking. I'm going to have a nervous breakdown.
Debbie is the tournament director for the National Bowling Association, the TNBA. It's an 80-year-old organization based in Evendale, formed when bowling alleys would only allow white people to bowl. Now the organization runs tournaments all over the country and has hundreds of thousands of dollars flowing through its bank accounts. Treasurer Annette Samuel Trigg says one day last November, she received a notice one of their accounts was overdrawn.
It has never, ever been overdrawn at all. So I immediately contacted Deborah.
She said, the bank account is overdrawn. I said, overdrawn? I said, you kidding me? So I go directly to the bank.
The TNBA banks at this Fifth Third branch in Springdale. A banker brought Debbie into her office.
She pulls up my information and she said, oh my God, somebody's draining your account dry. I said, what do you mean draining it? And she said, look. And I was like, holy shit.
This is what Debbie saw. Dozens of forged checks totaling more than $50,000. The bank investigated and said when Debbie opened the account, she added positive pay, a feature designed to give customers more control over which checks and withdrawals are legitimate. Debbie says she thought it was supposed to add a layer of protection to the account, but instead transferred the liability for fraud from the bank onto Debbie's shoulders.
You know, the guy was like,
there's nothing we can do. But the higher up told us they're not going to make any kind of restitution, and that's it. You're up $50,000.
Right.
The FBI stops an alleged scheme to steal from Fifth Third customers. And
Cut forward 10 months to this week. Debbie's husband was watching Local 12.
My husband says to me as he's getting ready for bowling, he said, sweetie, that's where y'all money is at right there, them people got it. And I said, oh my God.
We reported on a federal indictment of 11 people arrested on bank fraud charges related to an alleged inside job at Fifth Third Bank. The U.S. attorney accuses the bank employees of obtaining personal information from customers with high balance accounts and providing it to accomplices who would recruit homeless people and drug addicts to walk into bank branches and withdraw money from the accounts. Fifth Third put out a statement that it reimbursed fully the customers involved. Debbie contacted us.
We contacted the Evendale Police Department and spoke with the officer who investigated the National Bowling Association case. He says this case is closed. When we brought up the similarity between this case and the indictments that were announced by the U.S. Attorney's Office, he said the feds never contacted him.
But our discussion with the detective, Mark Turhar, prompted him to reopen the file and contact Fifth Third and the U.S. Attorney. He says the methods allegedly used by the suspects in the federal indictment differ significantly from those of the scammers in the TNBA case, so the detective contends the cases are not related. We contacted the U.S. Attorney and obtained the charging documents and confirmed the scammers' MOs were very different. Either way, the Bowling Association says it feels it was not given the same benefits and attention the victims in the federal case were afforded.
They have made restitution to all these other companies that were affected by this fraud. Why not us?
We reached out to executives of Fifth Third Bank. The bank sent us a statement saying, in part, Fifth Third goes to great lengths to protect our customers, and they are actively reviewing this case. They then asked us to give Debbie a private phone number to the office of the president at Fifth Third. In the meantime, the association has had to cut back office hours and lay off personnel due to its bank accounts being in the gutter. David Winter, Local 12 News.
And Debbie tells us that she spent about an hour on the phone with the corporate vice president there at Fifth Third, and he's looking into how the bank handled her case. We will, of course, let you know how this all turns out.
Cincinnati firefighters say many areas of the city don't have enough water pressure to fight fires, and a home in North Avondale may have paid the price for that. David Witter is there live now with what needs to change. David.
Kitchen. Yeah, you know, you'd think that living next to a fire hydrant would give you some peace of mind, but as the people who live in this home found out early this morning, not necessarily the case. Walking through the inside of this 115-year-old home, you'd never know that just hours ago it was 90% restored.
It's like a punch in the gut. It's really hard to look out.
Tara Lorton is one of the owners. They were restoring the home and getting ready to put it on the market. Eric Smith is her contractor. He was on scene early this morning. He says he felt helpless as he watched the firefighters struggle to find enough water to fight the flames.
They didn't have enough water pressure at the time. So I'm literally standing across the street and watching the roof line, the fire spread to the left while one guy has a hose that the water pressure was, you know, comparable to a garden hose.
You're still limited by the size of those mains.
Chief Roy Winston told us the issue is the water main in that area. It simply was not providing the volume or pressure necessary. You can see how little water was coming from the hose.
6-inch water mains that over time, just through sedimentation and buildup, have narrowed down to probably within only a few inches in diameter. And so when you're pulling such large volumes of water, it's just not able to keep up.
The head of the local firefighters union says firefighters have been lobbying for years to replace old water mains, or at least abide by the National Fire Prevention Association guidelines to color code the city's 14,000 hydrants so they know when they get to a hydrant what to expect. If you've known this has been a problem for years, why hasn't the city taken care of it?
You're asking questions that I don't have answers to.
The people who might have those answers are the City of Cincinnati and the Greater Cincinnati Water Works. They are replacing water mains like this one on Hackberry, but they tell us they are not prepared to go on camera today, and they are currently preparing answers to our questions, like what areas are vulnerable? When will the unsafe areas be fixed? And why hasn't Waterworks tested and color-coded all the hydrants? The people who own this home say they are planning to rebuild as soon as possible. Of course, having a hydrant right out on the street will likely not be a selling point. Back to you in the studio.
All right, David, thank you. And Waterworks employees promised that they would answer our questions via email. When they do, we will let you know. Cincinnati's fire department and water department may soon need to develop a plan on how to test hydrants for water flow.
But as David Winter found out, it is something the city should have been doing for years.
They call it the Little Monster. It measures the amount of water coming from a hydrant. The Covington Fire Department has been using it for years. Color-coded data prevents the need to tap a hydrant to find out its flow.
So we can get a pretty good ballpark by the striping on the hydrants.
It would have been a great information for the Cincinnati Fire Department about 2 weeks ago. When firefighters tried to use a hydrant in North Avondale, they scrambled to find a higher flow hydrant about 1,000 feet away, delaying efforts by several minutes.
Every 30 to 60 seconds of fire-free burns, fire doubles in size.
The president of the local firefighters union told city council members today they've been lobbying since 2012 to flow test hydrants. The National Fire Protection Association has recommended for years that cities color code red for the lowest flow hydrants, blue for the highest. Covington Fire Department already has a system in place. It's called Active 911. They have these iPads in each of their fire units. You click on the address where the fire is, and it shows where the fire hydrants are near the fire and exactly what color code they are, orange, red, blue. They'll know exactly what the flow is before they get to the fire. In this case, the hydrant right next to the fire only flowed 351 gallons per minute, while the one a block away put out more than 3,000 gallons per minute.
Cincinnati firefighters say many areas of the city don't have enough water pressure to fight fires.
Last month after the North Avondale fire, we told you we had several questions for Waterworks.
And why hasn't Waterworks tested and color-coded all the hydrants? We filed an open records request but have not received the information. And while the director for Waterworks testified before the council today, she would not speak to us on camera.
So it's really not my position to say what should have happened. I think they are very well engaged in the solution right now.
The fire department says it's best to look forward at solutions instead of pointing fingers. But this North Avondale resident appears uncomfortable with that answer.
It's very concerning to hear that there are outdated small water lines throughout the city, that many neighborhoods have been updated, yet some neighborhoods have not.
David Winter, Local 12 News.
And the Law and Public Safety Committee voted to pass on to the full council its recommendation to have the fire and water departments work together to form a plan for flow testing. And the council could take it up as early as this Wednesday.
A Wilmington couple charged with child endangering appear in court today, nearly a week after police removed their children from the home they call not suitable for humans.
Local 12's David Winter spoke with the Wilmington building inspector and the owner of the home this afternoon in a story you'll see only on Local 12.
Worst thing I've seen. Never in my life seen anything that bad.
Detective Scott Baker could not show his face today because of another assignment, but he was the first on scene Saturday when an anonymous caller alerted that children were living in squalor without heat or water. He found toddlers only in diapers, shivering, and absolute filth.
All the toilets were filled with human feces, and not only filled with it, it was just all over the seats, all over the entire toilet, just smeared down through there. And there were mounds of dog feces, rotted food on the counters, rotted food on the floors. It was just, nothing was ever cleaned, nothing was ever put away.
Two of the people living in the home appeared in court today charged with child endangering. 20-year-old Lisa Green and 21-year-old Kyle Seo are the parents of the toddlers found in the home.
Lisa, we're with Channel 12. We just wanted to ask you a quick question about the condition of the home.
The defendants would not speak with us, but the building inspector would.
And the first words out of my mouth were, oh my God, could we have done something here? I was extremely shocked, yes.
And could you have?
If I knew it, yes, I guess I could have, if I knew it. But I can't just barge into your home. It's private.
We obtained documents from the city that show the homeowner has been cited multiple times over the last 12 years for debris and dilapidation. We met with the owners this afternoon and asked about the lack of water and heat in the home.
They have had their water on, they just haven't been using it. So apparently they told the police there was a leak, and my husband and I are going to repair the leak of the water.
And the heat?
They said that they had someone that could fix it, and they told us how much it was going to cost, and we excused part of their rent, and to our knowledge, they were having it fixed.
Are you a slumlord?
No, sir.
Well, the toddlers are now with a foster family. The two teens who are also living in that home, they are now living with their grandparents nearby. And the emaciated dogs in the home, they're now with the SPCA. The defendants are all out on bond, and the police say they want their children back. Back to you.
Thank you, David. We'll continue to follow this story, of course, and police also say there may be more charges filed against the defendants as the investigation continues.
The number of accidents here in Cincinnati involving fire equipment increased significantly last year.
As David Winter reports, from 2018 to 2019, there was a 50% increase.
The call comes in at about 2 p.m. today, a brush fire near a business in Harrison. Engine 56 responds, weaving past cars and through intersections. Most people seem to comply, pulling over to the right and clearing the intersections. But too often it's not the case. This crash in 2016 on Cincinnati's East End involved a fire engine and 3 other cars, sending 1 person to the hospital. This crash in 2018 in Warren County involved an ambulance, a car, and a pickup truck, sending 5 to the hospital. In Cincinnati in 2019, there's been a huge increase in fire equipment accidents, 46 in 2018, 72 in 2019. That's more than 50%. The statistics do not surprise the Harrison Fire Department.
Cell phones. A lot of people trying to record what we're doing.
While they're driving?
While they're driving.
That's
sometimes it's a passenger, but sometimes it is the driver. holding their cell phone up, trying to record what we're doing as they're passing our cones or our trucks.
Not advised?
No.
Firefighters with whom we spoke say people often seem uneducated regarding what to do when an emergency vehicle approaches.
It seems like a lot of people don't know which way to go. They get confused. And when one person does it, someone else behind them will continue to do it.
On this call, one person entered oncoming traffic and several followed, endangering themselves, other drivers, and emergency responders.
Crashes with fire apparatus don't only happen out on the road. Sometimes they happen right at the firehouse. One problem is the trucks used to be very small, but now things have changed. The trucks have gotten a lot bigger, but the firehouses have stayed the same size. This is a scar on the side of the garage at Harrison Fire Station 1, and while these types of accidents cost taxpayers money, the bigger concern is what's happening in traffic.
When they see flashing lights, whether it's us, EMS, police officers, just to know to get out of the way, slow down, and get to the right.
So which equipment was damaged in Cincinnati? How much did it cost taxpayers? And why was there such a large increase in occurrences in 2019? The city of Cincinnati declined our request for an interview today, saying it needs more time to gather the information for our story. Local 12 will stay on this and report our findings to you when the city answers our questions.
President's Victims Compensation Fund has a loophole that is disqualifying many people from the program who truly need the money. David Winter is investigating the program, and he's here now to tell us what he's found. David.
Well, Cammie, the program's designed to compensate victims of violent crime and their survivors if victims are murdered. But it turns out a lot of those survivors end up paying all of their own bills because they're paying for a crime that the victim may have committed before his death. It happened in the flash of an eye and with the flash of a muzzle. Daniel Chaz Dudley killed in Colerain Township.
Because my son was an innocent passenger in a car and he was murdered.
Hope Dudley was Chaz's mom. While she was grieving the loss of her son, she lost wages, had to pay for the funeral, and helped take care of his 5 children. She applied for funds through the Ohio Attorney General's office, the Victims Compensation Fund, meant for family members who were innocent victims of violent crime, to be used for things like counseling, lost wages, financial support for dependents, and funeral and burial costs. So you would think Hope would be the perfect candidate to receive compensation. But she was denied because there are several disqualifying factors, like if the crime were not reported, if the victims don't cooperate with law enforcement, or if the victim committed certain felonies in the past 10 years. Hope did not know about her son's drug felony from years before his death. She was denied compensation through the fund. Now Hope works as a victim's advocate for the Ohio Attorney General's office, helping other victims navigate the system, even though the system failed her in more ways than one.
I miss him. His case is still unsolved, searching for justice. It's just devastating.
If changes are going to be made to how the Victims Compensation Fund is distributed, it would have to come from the legislature. Now, we did call 12 different state senators and representatives today, but only one, Bridget Kelly, who represents a district with quite a few innocent victims, said that she would investigate the matter. Cammie?
All right, keep us posted, David. Crime Victims Compensation Fund is supported through court fines, fees, and settlements. In 2018, $7.3 million was used from the fund to assist more than 2,700 people. Unable to play on their new school playgrounds due to a dispute between a builder and a subcontractor.
Local 12 Investigates looked into the dispute, and David Winter joins us now in studio with more.
Well, Kyle, Cammie, the West Claremont School District hired Conger Construction of Lebanon in 2017 to build 2 new schools, Willowville and Summerside Elementary Schools. Conger subcontracted the playground to Park Place Solutions from the Cleveland area in 2018. A year later, the 2 companies got into a dispute, and stuck in the middle are hundreds of children who simply want to play outside.
As you see, it's still currently closed off because we refuse to authorize that this playground is safe for use at this point.
Greg Beck stands where children should be playing at Summerside Elementary. He says his company should have been finished months ago, but he will not complete the work because he says the site is dangerous for children.
At 440 volts, the NEC code says that it must be buried 24 inches minimum below grade. Well, grade here on this is the top of the mud. We've measured that and you see it's 5 to 6 inches below.
Beck is almost right. We poured over the 900-page National Electrical Code. It states that the minimum depth for 440-volt electrical in conduit must be 18 inches below the grade. Beck showed us a similar issue he says exists at Willowville Elementary.
Again, 7 inches, 8 inches below grade instead of 24.
The schools opened on time, but without playgrounds for the children, while attorneys volleyed letters throughout the past 6 weeks. Park Play's attorney reiterates its client's concerns about safety. Congress attorney states the county inspected and approved the electrical work. Park Play's attorney says its client spoke to the inspector, who said, quote, "It's not like they give me a shovel to check the depths." Congress attorney says Park Play is in default of the contract. The school district did not accept our offer for an interview, but gave us this letter that it sent earlier this month to parents. It says it's trying to facilitate a solution between the builder and subcontractor, it's working to provide other opportunities for children to have active play, and it appreciates parents' patience and understanding. We asked the county about the inspections and the inspector's comments about not having a shovel to inspect depths. We received an email stating, "Inspections are normally done while the trench is open and measured to the planned final grade, and inspectors do not need to unearth buried electrical," which likely prompted the comment. It went on to say, "We will send an inspector to ensure that the final coverage of the wire will meet code requirements, and we want to make sure that the site is as safe as possible for those who use the playground." Now, we have requested that that inspector take us along when he re-inspects the sites. The state paid for the new schools about $40 million, $90,000 of which went to the playgrounds. Lawsuits have yet to be filed. If they are, those kids in those schools can expect a long wait before they have playgrounds to use. Kyle?
All right, David, thank you. We want to stress here that Conger Construction Group did not reply to our repeated requests to participate in this report.
Problems leading to fatal crashes. On the surface, it seems like it would be an easy problem to fix.
But as David Winter discovered, for truck drivers, it's far from simple. And for lawmakers, it's apparently pretty complicated.
Ask most of these truckers driving by, they will tell you it's their #1 issue, and it's only getting worse. The lack of parking for truckers is forcing them to put themselves and others at risk. 3 times in the last 6 months in the Cincinnati area.
The Ohio State Highway Patrol investigates a deadly crash at a rest stop on I-75.
Cars rear-end semis parked on off-ramps. These are the images and the costs of a growing and deadly problem, a lack of parking for semis.
And take a look on all the off-ramps. It's trucks on all the off-ramps, man.
Cliff Brown is one of 3 million truckers in the U.S., a number expected to grow by 67% in the next 20 years. As the numbers grow, regulators are limiting driving hours to keep truckers from driving tired.
Most of these drivers, back in the old days, they would cheat a lot.
To do what?
To get more hours. They could run, they'd take pills and they would drive all night, 24 hours straight.
The feds now require electronic logging devices, or ELDs. Truckers are forced to take more breaks, longer breaks, and they cannot cheat because the ELDs keep them honest. When their time is up, they need to get off the road or face fines or termination.
And I've been doing this 15 years, and it's getting to where it's just a hassle.
Jess Cook says he's not tired, but he was about to go past his hours and had to stop.
Truck stops are getting to where they are getting full by 3 or 4 o'clock in the evening.
Forcing trucks to park on off-ramps, on-ramps, and on the shoulder. Ohio and Indiana have the 2nd and 3rd most truck parking in the country. But Ohio ranks 39th in space availability because so many trucks traverse the state. A study in Kentucky reveals nearly 90% of truck parking is in use at night. Is there enough parking in Ohio for truck drivers?
I don't think there will ever be enough.
The Ohio Department of Transportation recognizes the problem.
We haven't just sat back and said, well, truck drivers just got to figure it out. We've launched this system that helps them to plan ahead. We've added truck parking at this facility and a sister facility on the other side of I-71 here in Warren County.
The new rest areas add 24 new truck slots. ODOT also points to its mobile app allowing truckers to see rest area availability, which also ties into freeway displays. But these systems seem to illustrate the problem as opposed to solving it. This sign on I-75 shows 4 slots available for trucks at the next rest area, but when we pulled in about 2 minutes later, the slots were filled, and trucks were forced to pass through and park on the ramp. And perhaps the reason they are so willing to park on ramps, the truckers with whom we spoke say, the police in Ohio look the other way. We asked the Ohio State Highway Patrol about it.
I mean, every situation is different. If it's an imminent risk for safety, we're gonna have to move that truck.
Is every off-ramp an imminent safety risk, or are there safe off-ramps?
Well, so it depends.
Lieutenant Sellers says truckers need to plan ahead and park safely. But truckers say they cannot plan for stopped traffic or getting held up at a shipper or receiver.
So what's the answer?
What's the answer? More parking.
I found 23 state and national studies over the past 20 years at a cost of tens of millions of dollars to taxpayers that all said the same thing: there is a lack of truck parking. I spoke with one trucker who said he could have told me that for free, and it's time to stop studying the problem and start fixing it. David Winter, Local 12 News.
And we spoke to the author of a yet-to-be-released U.S. Department of Transportation study. One of the recommendations is for states to tie together all their parking apps into one so that truckers have one single source for finding open parking spots. He also told us that states and the feds need to spend more money on more parking. Well, confusion over and exploitation of service animal laws is causing a lot of fur to fly in the tri-state.
As David Winter reports, some people are getting tired of those who are trying to scam the system.
No, I'm not playing.
Gizmo doesn't weigh much more than 10 pounds, but is worth his weight in gold to Christy Holland.
I don't know what I'd do without him, to be honest with you.
Christy is hearing and sight impaired, bipolar, and schizophrenic, and her Yorkshire Poo helps with all of it.
He lets me know when smoke detectors go off or if people are at my front door. And he was also for my anxiety as a service animal.
Under the ADA, Gizmo would qualify as a service animal, now defined as a dog trained to do tasks for people who are hearing or sight impaired, wheelchair dependent, or PTSD debilitated. Comfort or emotional support does not qualify. Businesses cannot ask about a disability, require documentation, or ask a dog to perform. They can ask, is the dog required, and what tasks does it perform? They can also remove an out-of-control or non-housebroken dog. There's no certification or official registry, and there is no training verification. There are websites offering it, though. This one is called ADA, but has no affiliation with the Americans with Disabilities Act. Assistance Dogs of America, for $49, will print you a card, some official-looking papers, and sell you a vest.
Here at the Humane Association of Warren County, they do about 60 to 80 adoptions every month, hoping to get little guys like Schroeder here a forever home. But about 10% of those adoptions, people are seeking an emotional support animal.
It is kind of going amok right now.
The director says people bring doctor's notes asking for an emotional support animal, expecting adoption fees waived.
When it gets exploited to such extremes, that's when it's going to hurt everybody that's doing right by it.
Health officials say dogs in restaurants, for instance, can pose problems.
They could lead to a foodborne outbreak inside or cause harm to other patrons in those facilities, those restaurants.
Which could leave restaurateurs to choose between getting sued for discrimination or for people getting bitten by imposter service dogs.
As long as it's wearing a vest, we basically don't ask too many questions.
Not to mention, it would be hard to say no to a face like Gizmo's. David Winter, Local 12 News.
24 states now have laws regarding fake service animals. Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana are not among them.